Hi there, welcome back to Get Gardening. I'm Casey J, and in today's video we are going to be talking about how to combine plants together to achieve whatever the desired outcome is for your garden. Whether that be having plants that are blooming continuously from spring all the way through fall, or one season just packed with colors. When we're talking about plant combinations, simply we're talking about in your garden that is composed of plants, how a plant interacts with its neighbors, whether that's it works well together with its neighbors or if it doesn't. And the one thing to remember is there's no rules in gardening. There's nothing that's going to come and tell you did something wrong. It's really your garden, so make it the way you want it to be. There are 4 things to consider when combining plants, and that is foliage, plant growth, bloom period, and color. And I think a lot of people want to think that color is the most important thing when picking plants that are going to go next to each other, but I think that's the last thing we should consider. The first thing would be foliage, because really, if we think about it, the foliage of a plant is there before the plant even starts blooming, and it will be there after. So that's the thing that we should consider first. Here, I am in my tropical garden, and I thought of no better place to talk about foliage than my tropical garden that has all this lush different kinds of foliage. And I wanted to show you a plant combination that I have here that really highlights what foliage can do for plants. I've got this wonderful see-through verbena here, Verbena bonariensis, up against this canna lily. And if you can see the contrast between the stark, dark, rich canna lily and the foliage of this verbena is something that you hardly can even see. Really makes this plant combination work. My front yard, it might be a little bit noisy because we're on a busy street in Chicago, but I wanted to show you some foliage that might be something that most people would have in their garden, and that would be the deep color of this coral bells up against this catmint that has this beautiful silver foliage with the bright purple blooms. It's just another way to show a contrast with the leaves that is something that you might have in your garden. Alright, now that we've talked about foliage, the next thing that you can consider when combining plants together is their bloom period. Some plants, they bloom at the same time, sometimes they bloom at different periods. So it depends on what you want as a gardener. Do you want your garden to have plants next to each other that are filling one seasonal gap with flowers, or do you want them all to have them together? In my walkway garden here, I'm going to show you a plant combination that I have, that I'm combining 2 plants that bloom during the same season. This is an iris, and this is one of my favorite plants, the Russell lupin. They're going to be blooming at the same time at the height of spring. A way that I've extended that is by having this iris that's a reblooming iris, so it's getting ready to bloom again, which is kind of exciting. But there's nothing here blooming right now, and there's holes in here where I can add some summer impact, but this is a garden where I've designed it for that big intense color and display at the end of spring. So you really need to think about when plants are going to be blooming, because as you can see, I don't have any flowers here right now. I have some room in the front where I've added some annuals with some color, but other than that, this part of my garden is for some high spring blooms. Alright, we've talked about foliage, we've talked about bloom period. The next thing to consider when combining plants together is their growth habit. Some plants grow really big, the height of them, and depending on what you want in your garden, you want to combine plants that are going to work together with the height that you've set out for them or the space that you have. This combination that I have here is something that is not working well in my garden. In my walkway garden, I've got this yellow blooming daisy with a peony that I just bought. It's a baby, it's very slow growing, and this yellow blooming daisy just took off. It went crazy. I had to tie it together because it was flopping all over the place, and it was not a good plant combination. I didn't do my homework well enough to find out exactly how high this plant would get, but I'm making a note of it in my head of things that I want to switch in the spring. Something that I did do that worked well was I had this clematis in the back that just needs vertical space. So even though this yellow daisy took up a ton of room, there still was a ton of vertical space back there that the clematis did a wonderful job in. So this is something that I'm going to have to move eventually in the spring, since it clearly is taking up too much room right here. So growth habit is something you want to consider when combining plants. And finally, the last thing to consider is color. And a lot of people, they segregate different colors together, and in my garden, in my walkway garden here, I've got every part of the color spectrum in here. But I want to show to you something that when I walk by it every day, it just drives me nuts. I've got this yellow and white blooming daisy here, the Shasta daisy, and this red gaillardia, and I absolutely can't stand it. It drives me crazy. The red is such a vibrant, deep color, and the lightness of this daisy, it just, in my opinion, it doesn't work. So this is something that I'm taking mental note of, so in the springtime, I can move my daisy to somewhere else where I'll be happier with it. That's something that you can do this weekend. Go around your garden, take mental notes of what's working in your garden and what isn't. So that way in the spring or in the fall, when things are done blooming, you can start moving them. I do have a plant combination of colors in here that is working wonderfully, and I want to show you that now. Alright, I planted this dahlia next to this pink blooming yarrow this spring, and it was a plant combination that worked out so beautifully. I absolutely love how the red and purple tones in this dahlia are picked up in this yarrow. That's something that I'm taking mental note of this year, so when the fall comes and I dig up this dahlia to store the tuber, next year I can do this again, since I love how it looks together. So that's something that you want to do in your garden too. Go around, find the successes, the things that you do like, so you can replicate them in the future. Thank you so much for watching. That's all we have for today. But I want you to remember, if you think about those 4 things when combining your plants, it'll help you to have more success with your plants and their neighbors in the garden. So remember to think about foliage, bloom period, growth habit, and finally color. Also, in the comment section below, I would love to hear from you and some plant successes that you have in your garden, different plant combinations that have worked well for you, so the rest of us can find them out and utilize them in our garden. And also remember, please like and subscribe. It has been a pleasure. See you next time.